This is County Executive Steve Shue. You're listening to the Maryland Crabs Podcast.
Live from a grungy kitchen table located in Annapolis, Maryland's scenic and historic capital, it's the Maryland Crabs Podcast. With each episode, your hosts, Tim Hamilton, John Frenay, and the occasional guest will dive in and pick apart the stuff that really matters most to you. We're too lazy to actually solve any of these problems, but we can definitely stir the pot. From schools, politics, parking in the fire lane, to those horrible people who drive BMWs. And here with this week's episode, live from the kitchen table, Tim Hamilton and John Frenay.
Hey there, this is John Frenay flying solo once again for the Maryland Crabs, and welcome. It is March 1st, and that means that the Annapolis Film Festival has to be coming up pretty darn soon, doesn't it? This week we are talking with the founders, the co-founders, Lee Anderson and Patti White, who we spoke with last year before the film festival, and we're going to learn a little bit about what to expect this year as it rolls into town later on this month on March 22nd. But before we get into that, just my weekly plea for you to subscribe, to rate, do all that stuff that really does help us out. If you're on iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review. If you're on Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts, please give us a rating because it really, really does help. If you do have any ideas, thoughts, criticisms, complaints, stacks of unmarked 20s, there's plenty of ways to get in touch with us. You can tweet us at MD Crabs Podcast. You can email us at info@themarylandcrabs.com. You can go onto Facebook and catch us at the Maryland Crabs Podcast, and we have both a page as well as a group, so you can follow and join those. And seriously, if you have any idea, if you may want to come on as a guest, if you know somebody that would be a guest, if you think there's something that we should talk about, let us know. That's how we continue to grow, because we do want it to be all about you, not just about us and who we happen to think is important. And if you do have those stacks of unmarked 20s, send me an email and we'll arrange a place to meet. So stay tuned. Right after this, we're going to get right into it with Lee and Patti from the Annapolis Film Festival 2018.
Did you know that more than 1,200 mental health patients had to be transferred last year by AAMC to facilities outside our area because these facilities do not exist right here in our own area? Denim and Diamonds is a fabulous, fun evening under the stars to support expanding mental health care in our community. AAMC Foundation proudly thanks RXNT for their generous $50,000 exclusive presenting sponsorship. Get more info at AAMCdenimanddiamonds.org.
Hi, this is Anne Arundel County Executive Steve Shue. The heroin and opioid epidemic has touched every family, including mine. It breaks my heart to see families crippled by the trauma of addiction every single day. That's why we're doing everything possible to fight heroin and prescription drug abuse. If you're a parent, talk to your kids about the dangers of prescription drugs. Attend one of our Not My Child presentations in your neighborhood to learn the facts. We all think our children couldn't possibly be using heroin. Well, think again. If you're struggling with addiction yourself, now is the time to get help. Our Safe Stations program allows you to go to any fire station and ask for help. No questions asked, no one gets in trouble. Get educated and join us in the fight to save lives. Go to denialisdeadly.org or call 410-768-5522.
It was about a year ago that we were here, and we're both still here, so all three of us are still here, so that's a good sign. And we're here today with Patti White and Lee Anderson, who are the co-founders of the Annapolis Film Festival. And because you guys are here, that means the film festival must be coming around.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Earlier this year.
Okay, so you heard it here first. We're postponing it this year.
Oh. We just could use a little more time, that's all.
Yeah, well, that's the story of anybody's life. You need a couple more hours a day, a couple more days in a week. But the film festival is coming March 22nd to March 25th here to Annapolis again for the Sixth year.
Yay.
You guys, I remember last year you said that the 5 was like the big number in the whole film festival world. Mm-hmm. And boy, you knocked it out of the ballpark with that. I mean, we had Rob Reiner, you had some of the great shows. I mean, LBJ with Woody Harrelson. I mean, that we saw that in the theaters. Last year was fantastic. You going to outdo yourselves again?
In a different way.
In a different way?
We are growing and evolving. And now that we've got through the 5th year, which was sort of that test year for festivals, if you're still alive after 5, they say you've got a shot at it. And we feel very confident going into year 6 that we are really building something that's here to stay and that's got a big part of the fabric of our community. And bringing in all these films, and we're getting better and better films every year and more interesting films from lots of different places we feel that is what's really elevating this festival now.
I know that every year there's a theme that goes with there. We've got, this year I know it's all about, I want to say the Me Too movement, but I mean, it has a little bit of a theme on there. We've had racism, we've had segregation, we've had any number of different things. Is that something that's typical in film festivals, or is that unique to Annapolis Film Festival?
That's a good question, John. I've seen it at other festivals. We try to do it a little differently here, I think. A lot of it's driven by the content that comes in throughout the year and what's happening in real life, current events. This year, we do see some recurring themes, as we always do. There's a lot to be said for women this year. We have a special event this year that we've added that's like our version of American Idol. It's called the Shorts Challenge. And the subject and theme of that are stories about women and girls around the world.
Our pitches have closed for what we're taking for the shorts program, and we will make a determination of what 5 candidates we will be bringing in to pitch their shorts idea to a live audience. And we'll be making that determination before the festival.
Okay, so this is really cool. So they've basically written down a pitch.
Yeah.
Yes.
They submit any videos or anything like that? Or,
yes.
I mean, they can be creative as they want.
Mostly photographs, lookbooks, kind of things that give you the feel, the style.
A few clips here and there.
A few clips, but it's mostly a thematic.
And then they also are required to submit a small budget. And, we put them through the paces to see if they really know what they're doing.
Yeah. And what's the deal? I mean,
they will.
What do they win?
They will win a production package of services for camera and sound, lighting stuff, sound design, mix, music composition, and post-production. It's a big deal.
Wow.
So they can probably crowdfund for a little cash budget and go out and make their film, telling everybody they have the resources to actually make it.
Yeah, because they'll have it in the end. And the great part is that when they get up on that stage to come out for 5 or 7 minutes to pitch,
right?
The audience will be with them all the way. It's
Sure.
as if singing a song. They'll be there for them, and they'll be able to judge, which pitch sounds really good and which pitch didn't hit the mark, and then they'll get to vote. And even though most of it, the percentages will be for the judges will make the determination, but a quarter of the vote will be the audience.
Okay. When do we know the date? When is the date?
Yeah, it'll be Saturday, the 24th of March, and it'll be at Maryland Hall from 10 to 11:30.
And in 2019, we'll show that film here.
Oh, okay. So they get a slot for next year.
Yeah.
So that means there is a 7th.
If we're still standing.
You let the cat out of the bag. But
7 is a lucky number,
That's true. How many different pitches have you received?
We don't have the exact count right in front of us, but we have quite a few that have come in, and they've come in from all over too.
All over the world.
It'll be to pick 5 will be tough, and we'll pick 5 good ones.
And who picks the 5? Is it you guys, and then it goes before the judges, or have you sent it out to who the judges are?
Our curating team,
okay.
Myself and Lee. Our director of programming, Derek Horn.
Derek Horn's the pro, right?
Right. And if we need any other advice as we narrow it down, we will bring
some of our advisory board members may serve in that role.
You guys do a really good job, though. I mean, as far as curating and bringing in the films, I think in very few festivals that I see in town or here in town that there's not at least some people bitching about something. And I think the worst you get is like it rained.
If we get away with that again, that's good.
It does that every year. So
what's new and different in 2018?
Well, first of all, our whole tagline this year is "Voices strong, minds open," as you know, and it's beyond any sort of group or anything like that. It's basically about, we see it as that this is what a film festival is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be bringing in the voices of filmmakers from all over the world to be able to, because that's what. When they make a film, they have a voice, and that's what you're hearing. When you watch a film, you should be watching it with an open mind. I mean,
Right.
you should be learning, growing, evolving, all of those things. And so that's kind of who we are, and this is who we've probably always been, but we just have been able to self-identify ourselves this year.
I mean, whenever I come to see something at Annapolis Film Festival, it is food for thought. I know you, and I'm going to draw a blank on some of the names, but there was the film that jumped into some fairly violent things last year. It really got me thinking as I left out of it. It was about the girl that was the waitress that...
Yes.
Katie Says Goodbye.
Yeah.
With Olivia Cook.
You know, was great.
We have also a local showcase on
Focus.
local focus on Sunday,
Right.
And we're showing films, all kinds of short films.
We
that
have
been
another
made by
another
Marylanders.
feature that was made in Maryland this year that will be part of that. It was shot and based on an old wives' tale that you may have heard of.
It's an urban legend, actually.
Urban legend.
What,
It's
Goat
called
Man?
It's called Butterfly Kisses, and it's about the guy in the train tunnel
In Baltimore.
in Baltimore.
Okay.
So it will. I think this is its premiere.
Well, you do, but you guys you've always done that. I mean, Patti, your sons are deep into Hollywood. I happened to see, was it The Post? Yeah, I thought I saw the name fly up there. So brag a little bit, that's fine. But they're deep into Hollywood. They're, outstanding producers, directors,
Both.
both. And you've always brought something from Maryland here. James E. Boy was one of the first ones before, which was
Their
filmed.
first film.
Which was filmed out in Jessup, right?
Yeah.
Before it closed.
Before they knocked that old building down called The Cut.
Right. Last year, LBJ.
And Ingrid.
And Ingrid Goes West as well.
What's that?
And Ingrid
And
Goes
Ingrid Goes
West.
West, yes. Yeah. Will they be coming back again as far as any of their films or?
They will this year. They're going to be bringing a small little indie film called A Crooked Somebody that premiered at the LA Film Festival this year, and stars. One of the stars is Joanne Froggatt from Downton Abbey. She played Anna Bates in Downton Abbey, and she will be coming from London with the film. So, and they'll be here. So, I think it'll be pretty interesting. And Wayne Rogers, another one of our local
Producers.
businessmen here and producers, is a producer on the film.
Okay.
And he'll be here as well.
It took me 2 years to figure out that Wayne Rogers wasn't the Wayne Rogers that I know.
You mean from MASH?
Yeah.
Yeah. A different Wayne Rogers.
Yeah, that Wayne Rogers married a neighbor of ours up in New Jersey's daughter late in life. Her name was Amy Hirsch. And it was funny. And I did run into the Annapolis Wayne Rogers one time and went, yeah, no, that's not him.
Not the actor, the producer.
But he's great.
But-
He's deep in the film business now too, and it's wonderful.
Wayne was involved in Wind River, which is another film that just came out this past year
Okay.
Yeah.
with Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen.
Right. Now, over the last year, you guys have obviously not been on the beach just sipping the margaritas
I
and
wish.
spending the money that you made off of the last film festival. You
Yeah.
guys do this huge road trip.
We do.
Pretty much. It's sort of like Lee and Patty's Excellent Road Trip, which might be a very good movie at some point. That
I don't know how it would be rated actually. So mostly from the language, from
The
NSFW
craziness
language.
of it all.
The first thing we have to do whenever we go to other festivals is we get up early and we commit to at least walking for an hour because we sit all day. Because we literally are in and out, running back and forth to theaters. I mean, we could go on a weekend and see 14 films easily in a weekend.
Yeah, it's absurd in so many ways. But without that, we would be missing out. I mean, even though we might hear of these films and be able to reach out and call producers or call distributors, it's a whole different ballgame when you're actually watching the film on the big screen, seeing how the audiences react to a certain film, be able to meet the filmmaker, make a deal, begin the conversation, and get the whole shape of what ours is going to look like. Because we're never going to take 10 films from any one festival. We're picking here and picking there.
Sure. So you're not obviously you're going with a dual purpose. You're going to see films, but you're also looking to vet them out. And,
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know what the first film festival of the season may be, but you may go there and say, oh, this, and you're whispering among yourselves, and people are giving you shushy looks and stuff like that, and say, yeah, okay. So then you meet the director, the producer, or whatever it may be, and say, hey, look, we've got this deal here in Annapolis. We're a cool little town on the Chesapeake Bay. You want to come on out?
Right. Would love to bring you to, and would like to invite you to Annapolis if we know already that we want this.
Yeah,
film,
we're careful. We don't offer unless it's a slam dunk.
Right.
But
But then we offer them to submit.
We offer them to submit, and we do work really hard. If we're very interested, we work really hard at convincing them that they want to spend some time in Annapolis, because frankly, there are 3,000 film festivals every year, and they don't have to choose us, but we're choosing them. So we're trying to convince them that, yes, our hospitality is great. Yes, our audiences are exemplary and curious and ask great questions, and our town is welcoming.
Cool.
And we have a hip, cool city on the water, and it looks like something out of pre-colonial America.
Right. And now we can say we got a really cool mayor that has a cool Australian accent, and he's digging the arts.
Right. Exactly. A restaurateur and the whole bit.
That's true. We've got a little French place here in West Annapolis called Flamant. Have you been there yet?
No, not yet.
I've got to go see.
We've had no time.
You'd mentioned that you have to sort of convince them to come here.
Well, we sell it, but we sell it in an honest way. We're not making up anything. It's all true.
Well, no, we are a cool little vibey town. And you guys have added way to that. I mean, you brought a lot of hipness to this town. Not bad for a bunch of middle-aged women that are over here in West Annapolis. I gotta say, I had to be careful there.
How hip can we be? I mean, come on. But here's the really interesting thing is that what we've seen grow from the first year that we went out on this road show, as you're talking about. Thelma and Louise hit the road. What we've seen is that where we've had to sell our town and our festival because we were young and people didn't know about us. Now, when we say Annapolis Film Festival, oh, I know about you guys. I've heard about you guys. I'd love to come there. So now we're getting the energy first before we have to say it.
Well, Lee, you had mentioned that, again, in the pitch, you say our audiences are engaged and they're attentive and they ask questions. I mean, what is it about any film festival that attracts a producer or a director to come here?
It's a variety of things. Sometimes it's
not the Market House, right?
Not the Market House.
No, not yet, but we're working on it apparently. No, it's usually a cross between geographic area, press reach, and press interest. A lot of them look at whether there are awards offered, juried awards, what our sort of credibility is for an excellent slate, so they can be among other excellent films. Also, we're not a market festival. We're not Toronto, so we might have some distributors here, but we don't have sales happening necessarily in the street.
Okay.
Films here.
And that's just a different type of festival then, correct?
Yeah, we're more of a networking festival. We're a community-based festival. And one of the things we've spoiled this town, and they don't realize, is how accessible we make everything, because when you go to a bigger festival, you don't get to dance on the dance floor with some of these people and they're shepherded away and you hear them for a conversation. You never see them at the party or anything like that. So we've worked really hard to create an intimate environment where people feel very comfortable and people are approachable. Well,
you do. I know that last year I took particularly notice because I was talking to different people throughout the festival, but you're just roaming the halls of Maryland Hall, and not that he's a big name, but all of a sudden I turned the corner and there was Oid Craddock, and it was like, oh, hey, there you are. Can we have a few words? Can we do that? I remember, and I don't remember his name, but there was just a really, if I had to stereotype a flamboyant West Coast guy with I don't know, they had a purple, just the clothing and everything else, just having a hell of a time at Baroque at the Saturday night party, the Saturday night bash. And it's really kind of cool to sit there and see those people, to be able to get out there. And I was the producer of that. Certainly last year, Rob Reiner was a big draw. He came to the opening night. He did the question and answer session, which was just phenomenal. He was at the opening night party.
The pre-party,
yeah. He was generous with his time.
Yes.
He was. I thought, and it's funny, you think Rob Reiner is like this big guy and everything else. And he just shows up in an Uber and he's like, he's all disheveled and his wife is there. And it's like, okay, yeah, whatever.
Putting him back together.
I'm out. Which is always cool when you see, it's like, yes, we do put our pants on the same way in the morning and everything else. Yeah. And I mean, Reiner has actually 2 years consecutive years with the film festival because he Skyped in with issues that the first year. And I remember
he was unplugged because we're little tech nerds here and we try really hard to make everything work, but there's so many moving parts with 77 different events happening in 4 days. So we were neurotic. We said, we're going to check it twice. We're going to check it before the screening and we're going to check it after before the next one. And then somebody left the audio cable taped down. 500 people walked over to sit down, and then the audio didn't work.
What was the last thing I said? Right, make sure nothing happens here. Make sure the audio's fine. Of course,
oh my God, I can't believe that happened. Who didn't think of that?
Well, his line was the greatest when he finally realized, so wait, you can hear me, but I can't hear you? he says, okay, so let me talk to you about
politics.
About politics.
I got a captive audience here, and boy,
That was great. That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
We talked about the parties. Are you guys doing the parties again this year?
Oh, what's a festival without parties?
I don't know. I don't go to many festivals. This is like one.
Nobody would if there wasn't a party.
Let me just throw out this. So our whole opening night this year is going to be very exciting because we have the movie Beirut, which is going to be coming out in the theaters not too long afterwards. And it's with John Hamm and Rosamund Pike. It's a big movie. It's about Beirut in the mid-'80s,
I've
early 80s.
seen the trailers.
Yeah. So it's a political thriller and involves the CIA and a kidnapping and the whole bit. And it's just going to be really fun and exciting. The producer who is coming, the stars are off working in the world somewhere, so we couldn't get them. But the producer is coming, and she's local. She's from, not Annapolis, but she's from Maryland. And she did Captain Fantastic as well.
Oh, nice.
So it's going to be great. She's going to be here for the whole opening night and will be talking to us about the movie. And then when we go over to the Boys and Girls Club for our after party, it's going to be transformed into a Middle Eastern theme food from Palate Pleasers
and Whole Foods.
And
we're introducing a special cocktail, signature drink.
And we'll have some we'll have entertainment. It's just going to be a really fun night. And that's taking that whole theme and bringing it to a big night for us.
Okay, so you're using Boys and Girls Clubs again?
We are, because they're very close by and they're wonderful partners and neighbors.
It's a large venue.
You know?
Right. And the opening night film will be at Maryland Hall as well?
Yes, it will.
Okay.
There'll be a red carpet out front, and that red carpet will have however many filmmakers have come in by opening night. And if there are any actors or filmmakers, they'll all be out there being interviewed on the red carpet. So it'll be exciting.
That'll be fun.
And
the Boys and Girls Club worked out really well last year.
It did.
It's a big room, and
it is. The plenty of free parking if you want to drive there. You can stumble there from Maryland Hall if you've already parked your stuff. It's a little nice stumble, and that was really good. The other opening night, or not the other, the Saturday Night Bash, is it back at Bar Oak?
It is back at Bar Oak. Lowe's has stepped up to be an even bigger partner this year. Our panels are now also at Lowe's on Friday at the Powerhouse because there is no Callahan's any longer.
Okay.
But we will have a dance party at Bar Oak as we did last year. And our opening night, we have a special VIP party, pre-party before the festival, but you can only come if you have a gold or silver pass, which, you got to throw down a few bucks for that.
All right, now let's get to the chase. Can I get one of those?
Yeah, of course you can.
Anybody can.
But we want to thank Historic Inns, who's been a big partner. Lowe's has been a big partner. DoubleTree's been phenomenal from the beginning.
Maryland Hall has been our new partner.
Maryland Hall has been huge, and we couldn't do this without this kind of community support.
I know a couple of years ago you had, and I don't want to say an issue with Maryland Hall, but there was a scheduling conflict with Maryland Hall.
Last year.
Was it last year?
Yes, we moved out for the Temptations review and moved back in.
Oh, what the hell is this Motown? Don't they realize you guys have a film festival to play?
Well, this year we're at Maryland Hall the entire time. No movement. We're there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all day. And
upper and lower theaters?
Upper and lower theaters the whole time. So this is going to make a very big difference for us. And we still have St. John's on the weekend. Okay. In fact, on Saturday, we have several spotlight films.
I love St. John's. They've got lots of legroom.
It's great.
They do.
And our spotlight at 4:00 in the afternoon, we have a spotlight called Love Means Zero, which is the film about Nick Bollettieri's tennis camp. And it's an interview with Nick Bollettieri, who is such an unbelievably crazy character. And it's such a well done documentary by Jason Cohn, who will be coming in with the film. And this is, Bollettieri had all the tennis stars at his camp. He dealt with all of them and had relationships with a lot of them. And this is kind of about how his craziness and who he was and how he ran his camps and how his relationship with Andre Agassi, which was like a father's son almost, blew up and fell out and all of the things around it. So it's a drama and a documentary at the same time.
It's all wrapped up into one.
So that is one. And then we go into A Crooked Somebody, which is the film with Joanne Froggatt that I was telling you about.
Right.
Ed Harris, Amy Madigan, and Rich Sommer from Mad Men. And
that's a dark comedy.
Dark comedy, and it's a caper. It's a thriller about a psychic con artist and how he gets wrapped up in a whole kidnapping and murder.
That would be one of the be on my list. I'm very anxious to see the list because I love the one with James Caan And I'm really bad with the
Good
names.
Neighbor.
Yes.
When it was here, it was called The Waiting, but then the name was changed by the marketing department at the distributor, so it became The Good Neighbor.
That was where the kids went in and were tricking them and whatnot.
And this one's very lively and it's funny and
it's dark,
and dark at the same time, so it's kind of cool.
Rich is a perfect bumbling psychic con man. So Joanne Froggatt is his girlfriend that's the plant in the audience. So she's always the first one he calls upon, and then it convinces everybody else he's psychic. And he pops up the sign and puts the books on the table and goes to the next hotel. That kind of thing.
Oh, wow, okay.
But then he gets wrapped up in an entire murder case from 20 years ago, and he gets kind of it's really good.
So one night, that the guy in the audience is convinced he's real and he's kidnapped to solve a murder.
And that's Clifton Collins Jr., if you remember that actor.
How many films do you guys have on? You had
over 70. Over 70 films. We have about 30 to
Features,
36. Right? Yeah, 34 to 36 feature length films. Yeah. 34, I think it's 34 feature length films, both about 18 narrative features, the most we've ever had in narratives this year, about 15 documentaries, and then all the rest shorts. We have about 9 shorts programs. They're really great too.
Now, that's been pretty consistent as far as about 70 is the sweet spot of films. Is that pretty much like the max you can do in?
Yeah, we like to run a few of them twice throughout the festival, and we leave a few slots open on Sunday so that we can surprise people with a few last minute, reruns.
We have some very cool films that have come off of Sundance this year too. Hearts Beat Loud.
Yeah,
that's we have The Rider.
We also have a wonderful film called The Miracle Season. We're getting a lot of films that have bigger actors.
The Miracle Season, is that the hockey? Is that hockey?
No, it's girls volleyball.
Okay.
And it stars Helen Hunt and John Voight. And it's based on a true story about a girls volleyball team, and one of the best players, she's killed in a moped accident. And Helen is the coach, and she has to rally them to believe they can do it for her and win, and it becomes an unbeatable season. It's very inspiring. We have an edgy late night shorts program.
Yeah.
It's called, there's a whole theme to the shorts.
There's a couple of them. We have a
couple
of
LOL.
LOL is one of them. Our shorts programs this year, Derek has named after
internet monikers.
Emojis or emoticons.
Yeah, exactly. So, they're LOL. There's
FAQ.
OMG.
WTF.
WTF.
There is, but it's What the Flick.
Yeah. What the Flick this time.
Tricky.
Well, we're getting younger audiences, and our late night movies and are showing that, and our shorts programs, and we try to run some cool movies at 9:00 for young people and anybody who wants. I mean, you end at 10:30, 11 o'clock. It's not that late on a Friday, Saturday night. So.
No, it's not. And your audience is getting a lot younger.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah,
and
it is.
It's as people sit there and think about it, and perhaps it was. The Night Watchman last year because it was local people and whatnot that drew people out. But I mean, people, they get the bug.
Right.
And I mean, they may not be traveling to, to Sundance in Toronto or, wherever else. But when it rolls around into town, if you're living in Annapolis or in Baltimore or Washington or, probably Philadelphia, it's a real easy, it's an easy trek, and it's here, it's local, it's something very cool to do. When are you going to change the word? If you guys want to be like can't be parties. They got to be like soirees. So you got to get a little bit of a French thing.
Well, that's why Saturdays are bash.
It's a bash.
It's
right.
our bash. We have a.
See, now you should have that I, Tanya movie there for bash.
Right.
That it just didn't time out. That's an excellent film that we would have taken had we timed with it.
We would have loved to have had that
film. Mm-hmm. Allison Janney is incredible in that.
Yeah.
Well, that's I, Tanya actually has a local connection here with Kurt Riegel, who lives over in West Annapolis. He ran for alderman, and his daughter is the editor for that.
Really?
And she is up for for a Oscar on her editing on that.
Yeah. Very cool.
Actually, I saw a ton of really good movies of late, and I went and bought for my girlfriend and myself for Christmas the Movie Pass thing, which will be bankrupt probably in about a year, but it's kind of cool while it lasts. So it's pretty neat. But the whole downside on that is that you can't order it in advance. Yeah. And with the theaters shrinking in sizes with the fancy chairs, which are nice, it's hard to get in.
Yeah.
I want to tell something to people if they haven't been to the festival or they don't quite get how to fest. We will be having rush lines again. A lot of people don't understand what that means. They think, I'll never get in. But a rush line means you have a chance to get in. So it happens frequently at other festivals where if you didn't get a ticket or there aren't tickets necessarily, we've put a hold on tickets till we seat the pass holders. You can stand in the rush line, and there's probably a pretty good chance if you get there early and you really want to see something, there'll probably be 20 or 30 extra seats at least.
Plus at our big theaters like St. John's and Maryland Hall, I mean, there's so many seats in there that there's a really good chance you're going to get in.
So obviously the way to do a festival is with a pass.
Yes.
And your VIPs and your Gold Pass and whatnot, they have, I'll say, a priority seating. They're pretty much guaranteed a seat at every single film throughout the festival.
As long as they don't get there late.
Right. And then you can purchase individual tickets.
Yes, $13 for adults, $10 for seniors and students with ID, which includes all the way up to 23 for college students.
That's a deal.
That's nice.
That's a real deal.
So the rush line, I mean, if you've got a movie that you want to see, say the
rush line.
Say the opening night, it's worst case you hang out in line for a couple.
Yeah. We got about 30 people into opening night last year on the rush line. But they just had to wait to be seated last, but they still got to go, and they got to go to the after party, and it was worth it.
And they got to hear Rob Reiner talk about the movie.
That's right.
Yeah, no, there you go, the rush line. What other tips do you have?
Comfortable shoes. Please reach out to our restaurant partners. We have a lot of people that help us, like Metropolitan and Bar Oak and Chesapeake Brewing and Cafe Normandy and Iron Rooster and Miss Shirley's. They all participate and help us with the festival, so we just ask people to pay it forward, and if they're going to take a break and get a bite, then please patronize the places that help the festival.
And they're all going to be listed in the program, I'm sure, when you
of
when you get that as well.
And then the trolley, the little circulator will be buzzing around.
Right.
We're supposed to have an extra one this year, so I think it'll only be about 10 minutes between pickups.
So we see buzzing around. Where are the different venues? I said Maryland Hall, obviously.
Right. Opening night, the trolley will run also over to Boys and Girls Club, I think. Right.
Yeah.
Where else are we going to be showing films besides Maryland Hall and St. John's?
At the Asbury United Methodist Church.
That's a surprisingly cool venue to see a movie. Somewhat a little bit uncomfortable in the pews for a long one, but it's a very good sounding.
Right.
Yeah.
It looks and sounds good.
You can see it and hear it well.
Yeah. And we also have Annapolis Elementary again, which is also a good place to watch films. And then we have at Maryland Hall, we have the main auditorium, and then we have the lower theater, the Bowen Theater, they call it now.
Right, okay.
And we're trying to do something interesting with the seating there this year, maybe having some risers. So it will be a much more pleasant experience.
That was a fairly big venue with everybody on one. I do remember that.
We're just hoping they finish that reconstruction in time for the festival. It's torn apart right now.
Yeah.
You want to know what filmmakers love? One of the things they love about coming to Annapolis, besides that we're a destination town and it's beautiful and all of that, they love our audiences. And that's our community here. They love them because our audiences are smart and they ask good questions and they always engage with them. And the Q&As are that's what they live for. They don't live to come to a festival, to sit in the back of a room and watch people watch their film. They love being able to talk about that film they spent a long time making and what it meant to them, taking on those questions.
So are they getting anything? I mean, obviously it's a affirmation of their work and the appreciation for their work. Right. Are they
paid? Is that what you're
saying? No. I mean, are they looking to get something out of it? I mean, are they saying, oh, hey, gosh, this is a different way to look. Maybe I'm thinking sequel. Maybe I'm thinking a different type of a movie. I mean, they
want to see the reaction. They want to see how their film plays in a room to different people in different parts of the country. I mean, that's important to them. They also want to get exposure because then the more exposure they get, the more buzz about their film, the chances of them getting picked up by a distributor or a network or a television venue of some kind is greater. And that's what they're hoping for. They're hoping to share this film with a lot of people.
The more laurels somebody has, if somebody sees that, there are 20 festivals have picked your film, that perks the interest of someone.
You just had mentioned picked up by a distributor for whatever. Where, and you guys have been in the film industry for a while. And it's obviously changed a lot. Where is the main point, or is there a main point of distribution? I mean, if I make a film today, am I looking to market this to Netflix, to Hulu, to YouTube, to HBO, to...
There's a lot of questions you'd have to be asked for me to be able to tell you that question, because it depends on what you're going for in your film. I mean, are you, first of
budget.
all, is it a short? Is it a long form film? Is it a narrative feature with actors, or is it a documentary? And what are your hopes always are to reach the most amount of people you can possibly reach. That's what filmmakers want to do. But if you are trying to go to Netflix or Amazon or Hulu or something like that with a one-off project, it's not easy by any means. I mean, you hear a million times people get picked up by this or they get picked up, but you want to hear the thousands and thousands and thousands of films that are not picked up.
Some hard drive in somebody's basement.
Exactly. I mean, and that's one of the great things about a festival is that, yes, we can pick films that are going to be seen on these places, and we can show them to you first and give you that experience. But we can also find some little gems that aren't being picked up but are still really good films, and nobody's noticing them because they're being completely overrun by the more well-known films or the films coming off the really big festivals. So these things get lost, they're just lost out there, and we can find some of those, put a net around some of those and bring them in, both shorts and feature lengths. And you can be exposed to something that you're never going to get to see and no one else is going to get to see. And then maybe that will help that film get out there.
Just as an example, our Best of Fest winner for feature last year was a film called Burn Your Maps. It's the first time there was a standing ovation and cheering by the audience when this film.
That's right. That was with the boy and his mother that went over.
He wanted to be a Mongolian goat herder.
Yeah.
Yes. And Jordan Roberts, the director, was here, and I don't think he'd had a standing ovation like that before, and he was very emotional about it. And you know what? The film still hasn't been distributed. And it's terrific.
It's a terrific film. But the problem was it had two stories going on. It had the young child story, and it had a more adult aspect to it. And nobody knows, if you don't know how to market a film like that, then it sort of sits in no man's land. So you can have a fantastic film, a crowd pleaser, an audience award winner, and still have trouble getting distribution. And that's the story of Hollywood today. I mean,
and I will say, I remember I was there for that standing ovation. That was at St. John's.
Yes, it was.
And it was, is that the biggest venue? Is it bigger than Maryland Hall?
Not if you count the balcony.
Not if you count the balcony.
But it's, I mean, and
it feels bigger.
And that was a sold out room.
It was.
And that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was. And he was so overwhelmed by the reaction. Because that's why you make a film. He spent years of his life making that film. It was based on a short story he read in the New York Times about grief. And then he wrote the film from it. And so he started that probably 4 or 5 years before it came here, that process. So to work for 5 years of your life on something and have that kind of reaction, there's just no words.
It's emotional, sure.
And this is why they do it. This is why filmmakers do it, and this is why we get lucky to have them here.
Yeah. Personal opinion, technology.
Yes.
Been a boon or a hindrance to the film industry and just bringing a festival together? I mean, obviously
Both.
It's a
double-edged sword.
Double-edged sword. So we're challenged because we don't even have traditional theaters here, and we don't have one turnkey place where you can flip on the lights and there's a beautiful screen and beautiful sound and a beautiful DCP encrypted projection system where we can get first run features released by big studios to us.
We have to build every theater we have in this town. We have to build it. Even at Maryland Hall, and nothing is in there.
That is a great challenge because we not only rent the venues, we spend about, it's almost $85,000, $90,000 to set that up for 4 days.
Wow.
So we need a lot of support. I mean, every bit helps, even when people buy passes or they want to, for $500, put their company on the screen in front of a short, or for $1,500 in front of a feature. It helps a lot. It helps us bring the filmmaker. It helps us put them up and travel them. Helps us license the film if it has a license fee. So creating these unique spaces has a benefit and a backlash at the same time, because we were intentional when we created the festival that we wanted to be walkable and in the downtown historic area, but we don't have a plethora of theaters. We have Maryland Hall, which is undergoing renovations, and we're working closely with them on that, and they are our main venue this year. And we have St. John's, but to put a film in a church or put a film in an elementary school gym, it's an interesting challenge. So
we just don't have one movie theater we just don't have a downtown movie theater that's set up with everything.
So it's getting harder and harder to get any films on Blu-ray because of piracy issues. So everything's digital and encrypted, and it's challenging because this is the first year we've actually had a technical director, thank God, because up until now it's you're talking to her.
Nice. Well, you're not at St. Anne's Parish House this year again, I had heard,
Yeah.
because there's a conflict
It's-
with
It's
Palm
Palm
Sunday.
Sunday.
right.
So that whole weekend they had plans. But
Sure.
luckily we're able to be in Maryland Hall the whole time. So we really didn't
That's
need
right.
to
They
pick up
told the
another venue.
Temptations to get the hell out. We got the film festival.
No
today.
no temptations this year.
It's really interesting, the difference after we've wrapped last year. There was just a different vibe, and so many people have reached out to us, and we're working really hard to collaborate with other arts organizations around the festival. We're working with the symphony and some other creative people in town, because there's always this territorialism around the arts because everyone's a starving artist and they're trying to carve out their niche. And there's enough for everyone. If we collaborate, it'll bring more people to Annapolis, and there'll be a more thriving arts community. So,
For example, we have on Sunday morning for our Jewish experience,
Right.
we have the film Itzhak, which is the documentary about Itzhak Perlman,
Right.
the great violinist. And it's a terrific film about his life and his struggles and his music and all of that. Afterwards, we've invited the conductor of the Annapolis Symphony. And he will be doing the Q&A with our two people up there because he has a personal connection to Itzhak as well. So, we're trying to, when we can, bring in community aspects of this. We will. Gary Jobson's going to be showing a film that actually was an NBC-based film on Courageous that he's interviewed in, and he'll be doing a Q&A and showing that. So,
we have a film called Kim Swims about a veteran who thought she had to rehab swimming. She had an injury and then ends up swimming the 7 most dangerous waters in the world, including that strait between San Francisco and Alcatraz, which is the most shark-infested water in the world. She's coming.
Okay.
right.
Cool.
On Friday night, our African American Experience showcase is a big deal, and that's supported by Dr. Allison Hall and the Glaucoma Center. And this year we're bringing in Sam Pollard, the director of the film we're showing, which is Sammy Davis Jr., I Gotta Be Me,
It's
the documentary.
fabulous.
And it's a terrific film about his life, about everything that happened in his world, and about the Rat Pack. And I mean, it's just a great film for everybody. And that Sam directed that film, and he also directed a film called Acorn and the Firestorm about the Acorn. The political advocacy group, and what happened to that. And he directed that as well. And we're showing that at Asbury on Saturday. So Sam will be at both of those films, and it's going to be just a real treat to have him here and being part of this. So that whole experience is just popping right up here.
The other thing that we haven't sort of touched on is your panels.
Yeah.
And it's not all about sitting on your butt watching movies. It's sometimes sitting on your butt talking to the movers and the shakers.
Right.
We got some very cool panels this year. We have one on the whole, it's like we're calling it sort of webcasting, which is people who are basically, it's the new TV, and it's making television on the web, really little mini series and things like that. And we have some filmmakers that have been involved in the web, work on the web. So,
I just saw for the first time Mike Rowe's new Facebook series called
The Dirty Jobs Guy?
Yeah. And he's from Baltimore. It's I want to say Giving Back. And he surprises people. This one was a guy a teacher, inner city kid, sort of an orphan. Teacher had given him a book, Tuesdays with Maury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
And she said, no, you can read it. And he says, well, I want to read it. And it was her book. He gave her personal book and said, here, take it. And that changed him. And he created a program up in New York where he was to get fitness. And he said, okay, you want this book, kid? Look, it's got a price. It's 10 push-ups. It's, 20 jumping jacks. It's whatever it is. And that's how they earn the books. And he went around in this ramshackle old station wagon to do it. Mike Rowe came in and they got them this big van all wrapped up, stocked with Schuster. He had a partnership with Schuster that put it through the books. They found the teacher that gave him the book down in Arkansas 20 years ago.
Oh,
brought her up there. He opened up the thing and there's his old teacher. And he's like, blubbering, and it's all on Facebook, but it's, and that's very similar to your webisodes.
Well, there are multiple avenues now for people to get their content out, but you still have to be businesslike about your approach, because once it's out there, there's still platforms and steps that are smarter than other steps. So we'll be talking about some of that in that panel.
And we're also going to do one on we call it the producer's prerogative, because the producer really usually gets their way, and
Right.
because they control so many different aspects of a film, particularly the financial aspect and also the overview of the production. But it's really from idea, sort of pitch idea to the screen. What does it really take to pull all that together? And we're going to have a lot of our producers that are here that are going to sit on that panel. It's going to be really good. And we have one on our cinematographers, which we've never really done a cinematography panel before.
And that's actually the nuts and bolts of...
It's all kinds of shooting.
It's the visual artist. It's the person who's actually translating and interpreting the director's vision, but with their own art. And so we're going to have three cinematographers on the panel.
One of whom was involved in two
of our films here too.
Where are we at? Where are we going to have the panels?
Powerhouse at Lowe's.
Okay. That's
also
nice.
on Saturday, we have a panel called the Directors Roundtable, which I think people really enjoy. So the directors that will be here, like Sam Pollard, and the different directors that will be here will sit on this roundtable, like the conversation room at St. John's, around 11 or 11:30 on Saturday, and they're going to be discussing all these aspects, and they'll be able to take all the questions from people about the movies they're making and what it is to direct. It's just always an intimate way to get to know these directors. And on Sunday, we're hoping to do one on, we're still in the process, but it looks like we'll be doing one on women in the industry in this new sort of environment of what it takes to be a woman in film today,
Yeah. That'll be fascinating.
We also have another sort of new venue this year. We're doing a pop-up lounge at Downtown Hope Church across the street from Miss Shirley's. And it's for any pass or ticket holder to go in there. And we're going to have a VR experience and some other cool stuff going on in there. And then the Filmmaker Lounge at Lowe's is for the more VIP people with the...
Okay.
But it's somewhere for people to hang out. And we'll have this little Snapchat lounge and a Lyft lounge in there. Hopefully, we might not be able to say that.
No, don't say that.
But we'll have people doing social media and fun stuff from there.
Right. Well, you guys have come a long way. I remember from the Compass Rose Theater.
Where we were bailing buckets.
Where the roof was leaking and you're squeegeeing the stuff out.
Squeegee, the movie. Squeegee.
It was, and that seated, what, 30? 40?
65.
60, okay, so it was
if we were crammed.
It was. It was. I remember that rainy night dashing from Maryland Hall into there to hang out in the hallway.
You're right. We have come a long way.
Those were the pioneer days.
You need to do a before and after, a little video or something, some of the still pictures or something like that.
But might make our heart.
Probably look a lot younger then.
Yeah, definitely. Feel a lot.
No.
Hence, where our technology and that whole digital thing comes back in is to a boon. We can make you look whatever age you want. Well, I'll tell you, congratulations on 5 wonderful years and a 6th one coming up. Let's get into the nuts and bolts. I mean, is there any big famous people that you can tell that's going to be here? Is there any big name drop?
We don't have a big name drop this year in terms of yet. Anyway, we don't know whether we will. We're working on somebody, but we're very happy to have Joanne Froggatt from Downton Abbey. She's for the people that do know her, she's incredibly loved and has a huge fan base. So we're hoping that will be kind of exciting. And
will Rich Summer will Skype in, hopefully.
We're not sure. They're showing the same film at Fargo Film Festival because he's from there. That's his hometown boy on the same weekend. So otherwise he would have been here.
Okay.
So we're not sure. But, it's like with film festivals everywhere. Sometimes it works out where the scheduling is right for the films, for the actors to be able to come. Sometimes it doesn't. But if we get one, we get one. And if we don't, we're going to have the producers and the directors and the films, which are great. So either way, we feel that we're, even more than last year, that we're elevating our festival this year.
Learn an awful lot any way you look at it. We don't have the full list, but it will be available by the time you're done listening to this, because this is releasing on March 1st. And that is when you're releasing your full slate of movies, right? On AnnapolisFilmFestival.com.
Tickets will be live on March 1st. I would suggest if you haven't gotten a pass, you should scramble and get one. There is a finite number of passes, and when they run out, they run out. There are no day passes for opening night. There may or may not be tickets for opening night. So if you probably will just run a rush line on opening night and pass holders. So
I will say, as a consumer of the film festival, that the passes are definitely the way to go, because you just get in there. You can go. You can map out your strategy. I think it's very cool that there's so many people in town that are taking half day Thursday and taking Friday off.
That is cool.
To do that. I mean, this is, what are you going to do Friday? Anything? You want to go sit in the dark, probably for 16 hours and have, and it's just pretty phenomenal what you guys have brought here. I think, obviously it's getting out there. I've spoken with a couple of the directors last year. Hopefully I'll get a chance to speak with some people again this year that they're excited to be here. And we do have a cool, as you said, Lee, we've got a very cool town. We've got a hip town. It's unique, as every town says they are, but I think we're a little bit more unique than many.
We got a mayor with...
how many else has an Australian mayor?
We got a mayor
who washed up here on a sailboat and fell in love with it.
That's right, with $20 in his pocket and
started working at the moon.
Exactly.
That's right. That's right.
And now he's reaching for the moon.
That's true. But I think it's wonderful. AnnapolisFilmFestival.com. Get your passes, and as Lee said, they're going to be limited in numbers. The Ticket Central. Where is that going to be this year again? Which is where you can buy an individual ticket.
Asbury.
But you can get a ticket at any venue. You can only get passes or day passes or student passes at Asbury. We can only print the passes in one place because if we did them in multiple places, we couldn't track it.
Any last tips, thoughts that you want to throw out there? Any bombs you want to drop?
Bombs. We are going to have popcorn this year.
Yeah, we are.
Places.
EC Pops is coming, and they have 3 different types of gourmet popcorn. We got to taste about 12, so we picked the 3 that everybody seemed to like
the
the
most.
What are the
flavors?
And everything.
I think
everything you can think of.
Just
cheddar,
and caramel, and
right.
sea salt, something.
Yeah.
Old Bay.
It'll all be good. And also Whole Foods is going to be over at several of our places
selling
with sandwiches and things like that, selling food. So that
you can go all day and run out in the lobby and have a bite and go back in and see a movie.
And obviously you're supported by ticket sales or pass sales and whatnot, but you also have a bunch of sponsors.
Thank God we have sponsors.
Our sponsors are the best. Our sponsors are the best.
I have to say that there are probably 5 sponsors that have been with us all 6 years, and I'd like to recognize them if we could. Can we do that?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
it's just amazing because they saw the vision from the beginning when, like you said, we've come a long way. We were just barely holding it together in the first year with a big dream. But we've had support from Synergix Films, the Anne Arundel County Arts Council.
April Nyman has been incredible.
Yeah, she is great.
Lincoln Financial from the first year. We've also had Baltimore Coffee and Tea Company. Metropolitan has been a ongoing sponsor since the beginning, as well as Lowe's, which is our big signature
and of course,
hotel.
Maryland Hall.
And Maryland Hall. That was 7. But it's been amazing when you talk to them and say, can you help me? They find a way, and we are so grateful. And we do need cash. I mean, it doesn't run on its own, and we spend the money on the festival. So for those of you who think that the coffers are spilling over, we have lots of bills to pay at the end, but it's always worth it.
Well, now that the community has taken sort of ownership of this, and they've put their arms around the festival and say, we like this, we want to go to it, we're supporting it, we're going to it. Now I think they understand more why it has to be supported, because the fact is we can make it run, we can keep it going, and we can make it good, but we can't it can't exist out of thin air. I mean, without the community, it would go away. That's all there is to it.
You can bring the nuts and bolts, but you can't bring the vibe. And I mean, people, it's the community, it's the audience that's giving the vibe to it.
You hit on something there, because there is a synergy that happens. I don't think people realize that there is just Patti, myself, and 5 staff that do this thing for 15,000 people.
With some interns.
And an amazing board of directors that all work really hard, and an amazing advisory board, many of whom come in from all over the country, but they do things from far away. And it is just a genuine labor of love by so many people, because nobody's getting rich doing this, but we're getting rich in our hearts and our spirit because we're helping change our community.
Right. Well, we've got 22 days till the opening night.
Don't say
do you need volunteers, or are you all set on that? If people want to volunteer?
Well, thank you for asking that. Yes, we have an incredible volunteer coordinator, Susan Wheatley. If you send an email to volunteer@annapolisfilmfestival.net, she will personally answer your email. We are going up live. If you haven't volunteered, we put up something called Sign Up Genius, and you sign up for slots and jobs, and that happens on March the 5th. So please, if you're hearing this on the day of the ticket sales, sign up tomorrow to volunteer. And if you really want your best slot, you got to be there. It's competitive now to get the best slots to volunteer, because the people that have learned that know to sit there exactly when it goes live.
It's like East Puerto Rock, and nobody wants that 6 o'clock on Friday night shift.
They're definitely
Saturday
slots
night
that
shift.
people
No,
don't want.
we'll take the early morning so we can get our work done and then drink the rest of the day.
We have nice volunteer benefits. In fact, we have a fabulous festival producer this year who did AFI for many years, Cindy Miller.
Yeah, she's
and
great.
She thought our volunteer benefits were extraordinarily generous. So, you don't have to work that many.
I heard you had a kick-ass party after the fact for the volunteers.
Oh, yeah.
So that was up on the rooftop of Metropolitan.
Yeah, we always have that.
We love our volunteers.
And Joe Barson is back again with his fabulous artwork.
Joe's our artistic director again this year, our art director, and he helped create this whole look for Voices Strong, Minds Open with our new poster and all our new artwork.
And personally, he's hit it out of the ballpark 5 out of the last 6 years.
Yeah.
One of the things that's really amazing about Joe is that when we work with him conceptually, he can take a concept and make it beyond your imagination of what you thought would be constructed. So you can have these conversations, which we did, about Voices Strong, Minds Open, but he translates that visually into something that you don't really always expect, but you end up loving it. He's just so talented in that way. He does branding so well. Yeah. If anybody out there needs somebody to come and create a brand, he's your guy.
He's very unique. He's actually he's just started to make pillows.
Really?
Oh my God.
Yeah, throw pillows with some new designs.
Yeah.
And I said, this is great for like a beach house, or if you've got like something out by a pool or something like that. But it's Joe is incredibly talented, and he hones in on it and whatnot. I wasn't a fan of the one where the shouting one, but that was
the controversial one.
It had its
day. You always have to have one controversial one in your pack.
But last year was great for year 5 with the V and the sailboats and the bridge and everything else, and this year with the
edge.
spotlight and the edge and everything else. All right, so where do we get our passes?
You get your passes online, or you can
go to Asbury
and pick them up
2 o'clock on Thursday, the 22nd.
But
we really advise you to get them online.
And that's at AnnapolisFilmFestival.com.
.com.
And it's all spelled out, Annapolis Film Festival, because
we tried to get AFF, but apparently that stands for Adult Friend Finder.
So where's the problem?
Well, I think adults do find friends at the festival, but we don't.
Actually, that company's owned by like OkCupid, and they own a zillion of those dating sites. So you can't buy them out. I don't think you got to grow a little bit bigger there. But to everybody that's listening, come out, support this Annapolis Film Festival, March 22nd to the 25th. It's 4 days. I just counted on my fingers real quickly of fun. You've got you'll be entertained, you'll be intrigued, you'll be shocked. There's probably all sorts of different emotions that'll go through within the period of 4 days. And on the 5th day, you'll be going, damn, that was good. Totally worth it. So I suggest go and get your passes. Come on out. We'll see you at the end of the March. We're here with Lee Anderson and Patti White, who are the co-founders of the Annapolis Film Festival. And you usually end it with your slogan, so throw it on out there.
Voices strong, minds open.
And there you have it. Man, I'll tell you, it gets better and better every single year. As you're listening to this, and since this goes out on Thursdays at noon, tickets are on sale for the Annapolis Film Festival right now, and you can get them at AnnapolisFilmFestival.com. 74 films over 4 days. It gets underway March 22nd. And the best tip I can give you is one word, passes. And if I had to give another word, it would be passes. They make it so much easier. You walk right in. You can see any film that you want. You don't have to worry about individual things. Definitely, if you're into seeing some of these movies, get a pass. Play hooky on Friday. That's my other tip. I do. And make sure you keep an eye on your podcatcher or whatever you use to listen to your podcast, because we will be speaking with some directors, some producers, and some actors from the upcoming films for the Annapolis Film Festival, and we will be releasing them as crab cakes. And as you know, with crab cakes, we just sort of do that whenever they're done. So there's no set schedule, so make sure you're keeping an eye out. Learn a little bit more about the Annapolis Film Festival before it does roll into town on the 22nd. And I do want to give a special heartfelt thank you to Lee and Patti for their vision. Without these visionaries, and that may be an overused word, but that's really what they are in this case, this thing never would have happened. And this brings so much to the town. It brings a vibrancy. It brings some additional culture. It brings additional art. It brings people. It brings economics. It's just a wonderful 4 days all around and really makes Annapolis that much cooler. And for that, my hat's off to Lee and Patti for doing this for our town. And a few final reminders as we wrap up this week. Rate and review. I said it before, but make sure you do that. It really does help. And if you're new here and you just happen to be catching this because you saw the title that said, hey, Britney Spears naked. No, it didn't say that. It said Annapolis Film Festival. But if you're new here, head on over to the MarylandCrabs.com and check out the more than 100. And because I said more than 100, that just means I was too lazy to go count. But we've got more than 100 episodes, both crab cakes and full-blown episodes, dating back to September of 2006. Lots of good stuff in there, and I'm sure there is something that will pique your interest. Again, if you need to get in touch with us, info@themarylandcrabs.com. And that'll about wrap it up for me this week. This is John Frenay, once again flying solo for the Maryland Crabs. Till next time.
This has been the Maryland Crabs Podcast with Tim Hamilton and John Frenay. Sure to follow them in all the regular places, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and online at themarylandcrabs.com. Take a moment to rate us on iTunes. Now, get the hell out of my kitchen. Seriously, go!
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.